So, good morning, everyone. So, all set? We are about to start the session, and as you all are excited to hear us, we all are excited to present it to you, okay? Now, today's session is GenAI-Driven Network Test Automation, a groundbreaking strategy for network transformation. Me, myself, Sudipta Debnath, Solution Integration Architect of Customer Experience in Cisco, partnering with...
So my name is Richard Fromm. I'm a longtime Cisco employee. I've been with Cisco for 26 years. I've been doing testing for 25 years. I remember in Cisco when we used to upgrade, I think it was the AGS with like ROM problems. So I've been doing testing for a long time, helping customers be successful in their network. I'm excited to present testing to you guys. So Deepa's going to cover a little bit more of the Gen AI side. I'd love to hear from you on what you guys do for testing and some tricks or innovative ways that you do you secure to de-risk your network. I'd love to talk to you after the session as well. Back to you, Sudipta.
Okay, so before starting the session, I would like to convey the message. This is not just like we are presenting, so we will be speaking. We would like to make it a little bit interactive, though it is not part of the interactive breakout. We would like to hear from you, so please be engaged with us. I do not have any Slido or any remote way to accept the answer of the questions, but I hope from this hall we will be getting the response back. So it's a two-way communications from both sides. Now, being said that, if you have already attended, you know that how to get registered with the session. For at the end of the session, we'll be having a survey, which we are looking forward. You can get engaged with us at any point of time through the WebEx team space. So this is just for your information. Now, what are we going to cover today? Of course, a session followed by the introduction, then network test automation overview. What is network test automation? Then emergence of Gen AI, how Gen AI is going to change the landscape of the network test automation. You are there in the Cisco Live since day one, probably, and you have heard Cisco's portfolio, and our business strategy is targeting on the Gen AI rigorously. So we are going to target to present you that how AI is going to change the landscape. Then followed by that, we will be presenting you a couple of use cases where Cisco is doing some kind of changes in the network test automation where AI can create the big impact. And followed by that, it's a generic thing like envisioning the future of Gen AI and Cisco and what we are looking forward. Might be the next year Cisco Live US, what we are trying to bring it out for you. Now, let's start it over. Richard, back to you.
Yes, so what we're going to cover today, we're going to start first with some network solution testing, what that is. Then we're going to go a little bit more into test automation. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about integrating this into like a DevOps pipeline. And then we're going to build on top of that, talking about Gen AI with test automation. Now, we're going to go quickly through the bottom three layers because we know people want to talk more about Gen AI. So Deepa's going to cover a couple of examples, mostly around virtual help agents that we use within our framework around test automation, intelligent test creation, and test result analysis. This is where we're focusing our areas around Gen AI at first, and she's going to cover those later in the presentation.
So who the audience we are targeting for? If you are falling out of this category, doesn't matter, but preliminary, is your network as designed doesn't match the implementation. You have certain business use case requirement and it's not as per design. I, as an engineer, spend significant amount of time on troubleshooting instead of innovation, right? Troubleshooting is more painful. how do I validate my network changes? How quickly I can validate it? Of course, automation is a solution, but what after that? I want to validate network and security compliance. Test automation, network test automation is the way for do that. I'm challenged to apply the automation. So you know you have the automation, but how I should apply it as an engineer, I'm not sure about it. So if you are falling into that category, then this session is for you to be targeted, but not limited to those restricted audience. Now let's understand what is the network solution testing.
Yeah, so one of the most popular questions I get around network solution testing is, well, Cisco, you as a company already do testing, right? However, in our way customers use our products is very varied. And you have integration with third party. And the way you use and operate the products is very different. So we value when our customers actually do their own testing to ensure network success. There's some examples here on the board. Network ready for use. Obviously, if you're building a new network, absolutely testing of that network to ensure it's ready for network traffic. Disaster recovery testing, that's important. A lot of times people have disaster recovery or failover. Do we really know that failover works? Reliability and availability, of course, kind of goes to the disaster recovery. Performance evaluation. Sometimes if you're doing something in a market trading analysis or area where there's critical performance requirements, we'll do testing of the performance at scale. Security assessment. Security is always going on. We have customers that are constantly running security tests, even at steady state in their network, to ensure there's no vulnerabilities or open firewall ports, et cetera. Building tests around that, around your network, can drive success. And quality of service, of course, like call management or voice over IP or anything like that, which is kind of legacy now, anything requiring low latency, we encourage our customers to help test in those environments. So we see the value of testing in these categories.
Let me ask you a question before we go ahead for the next slide, right? We are over here, the audience, we all know that, have a basic understanding of network test automation, right? So why do you feel that network test automation is needed? Any answer from this house? Yes, sir?
So I think test automation is needed much more than ever because many systems are becoming much more disaggregated. So we find test automation or predictive test area is one of the larger increasing costs.
So you mean to say that for justifying the cost of network, you would like to validate the network through test automation, right?
Yes, but also that you have more complex products going to the network, and they're disaggregated.
Yeah, more complex network and more testing is needed.
Multi-domain, multi-vendor, all play in.
Yes.
Yes.
One change happened that test it all again, so we need to automate that fast.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Correct, right.
Any other thought? Okay.
That's a good one.
That's good. So for security compliance check, you would like to do the network test automation. Okay, fair enough. Now let's see what we are targeting at this point of time.
Yeah, so around test automation, the business case I usually try to put around it when I'm helping customers justify the investment around it is we want to repurpose or focus the capabilities of our engineers on high value capabilities, right? It is about saving costs, right? You want to automate so you're not doing so much manual effort, but we really look at it as we want to put the efforts on the tricky problems and creating better automation or using things like GenAI. So we feel that the automation leads us to having the work staff move to higher valued services versus just focusing themselves on low value, repeatable type exercises. So as that, when you build that automation over time, it does become more complex. But now your engineers are working on what's the next thing I can automate, or what is this tricky problem I'm trying to figure out, or how to make the automation not just test the network, but maybe test the third-party devices that are connected. This is our view of how test automation is a business value to people and to our customers. In terms of net DevOps, this is not a session necessarily on this subject, but we wanted to bring it up quickly. There's other sessions here at Cisco Live on this. We love when our customers apply, this is our Cisco services view of network as code. And so if you put yourself in the context of net DevOps, you're using tools like Git for config management. And when you change your config, it can kick off a pipeline or a CI pipeline run by a tool like GitLab. And when that pipeline gets run, you can actually do tests. And we actually have test and validate on here as two separate items. The test in the context of green is usually more like your configuration validation. Hey, this change that's getting ready to go into the network, is it got the right syntax? Is there any code errors? Is there any typographical errors? The deployment here into the validate side, the validate is more about the network test side. That's more about pre and post checks, validation of the network for traffic profiles, et cetera, performance scale. So that we envision in a net DevOps world, if you're doing network as code, you're using the principles of software. You make a config change as an example that in Git that kicks off a pipeline, usually with a CI tool like GitLab or GitHub, that then runs some layer of testing. Then you go to deploy it, again using GitLab or GitHub. It may do an ITSM check with ServiceNow to get governance of that change. And when that change is deployed, you also do additional validation after that change to ensure the network is working as designed.
And on the other side of the landscape, you can see that AI ops, right? So if I am changing the network, how the network is behaving after the change, you would like to monitor. If you have a security compliance issue, how the network is being impacted. So all this monitor and observe process and engaging the network through a predictive analysis, or how my network will be getting predicted its behavior with the change. So that is going to be covered of the AI ops. So overall, if you see this basic landscape where net DevOps is getting combined with AI ops, is giving you the total end-to-end solution to justify how my network should behave, how I should validate and test my network. Sounds good? Any question before we jump into the next section? I hope so. Okay. Here, before I get into the next section, I would like to quote one quotation. This has been written by Liahu Moshe. He is the management guru, author of the Theory of Constraints. So he says that automation is good so long as you know exactly where to put the machine. We all talk about optimization, automation, and in current state, artificial intelligence is getting combined with automation, and we are giving a new direction of automate the automation, right? So if you go by this quotation, if we know where to apply and how to apply, automation can give you the best result. Otherwise, it can be a disaster also. Now, being said that, let's see that how the journey goes through. Richard, over to you.
Yes, so we compartmentalize testing from a Cisco viewpoint. So we have a couple of categories here. And as you go up this stack, they get more and more to the user, or to what we call user acceptance testing. Unit testing we usually view as something that almost is done by Cisco. But we categorize them this way so we can compartmentalize the value that they return and the work that it's focused on. Like component testing is maybe a single DUT, integration is testing with multiple devices, and the system test is across the whole network. And user acceptance testing is more like the actual user experience that happens. So in terms of the pyramid, of course, you automate in the same way. We automate basic unit tests, components tests, and up the stack. Of course, that creates more effort as you go up top, and the cost is also higher as you go forward. But the value of the speed of it is increased as you're at the bottom layer. And this also leads us to two ways of looking at testing. We have like a technology-facing testing, and then we have business testing. And generally something like technologies, does this route, BGP work, does Palo Alto work with Cisco, et cetera. The business testing is, are we building the right network? And the technology testing, the cliche we like to say is, are we building the network right? And again, in terms of why do we automate? Again, cost avoidance. We talked about putting people on higher value actions and outcomes. Efficiency. Efficiency is a big thing, because especially when you're doing automation, the automation is going to check the results for you. And if you have that coded into your automation, you know that you're going to get consistent results, where there's a lot of human error in manual testing when you're going through lots and lots of tests, right? And so obviously automation gives you a lot more value, a lot more efficiency. Very few engineers want to go through thousands of logs to get to an outcome. And in terms of where do you test and where should we really put the automation for testing into, there's a couple of examples. Anything repetitive, of course, that makes sense. Variable input, this could be something where you do like a packet size range or speed range. Features like SNP and AAA have been around so long. Those definitely are something that should be automated. What else do we have? Varying input, we already talked about. Fast decision making. Sometimes you can make testing a very small piece of something you do on a change because you don't want to go through a full validation suite. You do something small that's focused on a few tests. You can break that out and run that very continuously as you do a change. Of course, with anything, even with automation, AI, there is a upfront cost, but that upfront cost does even out over time. Most of the customers that we work with in terms of deploying testing to themselves, they do have that upfront cost, but they always say, after a few iterations, maybe a few quarters, we're seeing the return of value, right? We see the quality, we see the efficiency come back, but we knew we had to put an upfront cost to maintain that testing.
So let's understand now how basically the automation testing life cycle goes for an organization, right? So just imagine the situation 10 or 15 years ago from now, right? Behind, when we are talking about scripting, we are talking about making the automation framework and all those stuff. And then there was an aura when DevOps came into the picture, right? So what is the key factor for automating the testing lifecycle for an organization, right? So first thing first, you have to plan the automation, right? Understand what to automate, how to automate. Then select the assets which would be consumed for the automation and the estimation. Then next step comes as building the automation, right? So specify the assets that will build up the automation framework. You might be having the modular testing, unit testing, different stages of testing, and how the automation test report generation will happen, how you will do exception handling, and all those things taken into care of, how you will assert the validation. That is very important. So planning, building, then deploy and reporting, how you implement the same framework to multiple projects. That means the scalability, right? Scalability of the automation framework. And how to display the report, how to set up a reporting dashboard. And these are all very basic things for any automation framework. And finally comes into monitor and enhancement, right? Like how to increase the scope of automation testing, how you will monitor various business unit, the testing being automated and what reports are coming out. And of course, additional feature and continuous improvement. Now, these four pillars, what we are discussing about, is the basic structure of any organization will follow for the automation testing. And this is not a static, this is not a one-time execution. This is something which we do repetitively and dynamically. Now, being said that, while I set up the context, now let us understand how GenAI is going to change this automation testing lifecycle. But before we start this discussion, let's have a question or have a brief understanding about what is AI. Can anyone from this house just put a thought? What is there? When you say AI, what comes in your mind? Any thought?
I would say insights on data.
Sorry?
I would say the typical way I look at it, that gives you insights that you typically do not see.
You mean to say insights of what?
What's in data, what's ideas, linkages to other systems that not a machine learning, so it's actually looking at itself as something that you would not have been programmed into or understood.
Okay, so beyond machine learning, it's a programmable solution, right? Any other thought? Come on, guys, it's an artificial intelligence session and we are becoming too artificial. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so you mean to say you would like to have a data analytics which will predict the future state of the network, right? Yeah, based on AI's prediction, you are going to act upon it, okay? Okay, let me get you over here a little bit in a different way, okay? So, for me, artificial intelligence is a process where human mind is basically getting mimicked through the machine, right? When we talk about artificial intelligence, we talk about hallucination, we talk about sentiment analysis. These are all characteristics of human mind, right? So when you are going to mimic the human action through the machine, we call it as artificial intelligence. Just pay attention to the word. Artificial intelligence means you are building up the human intelligence in an artificial way. That is why we call it as artificial intelligence. Now, when is artificial intelligence is a new thing? My understanding is no. Because it stays in the human race from the very beginning. If you pay attention over here, I have put here the 3 boxes. So first thing is that artificial narrow intelligence, which we called as ANI. ANI is basically nothing but machine learning. So you know a specific area where your problem lies and you would like to solve that one problem, train your machine with that specific set of data, and that is called the machine learning, right? And it's called the artificial narrow intelligence because your scope of solving the problem is very, very narrow. Next stage, when we evolved out from the machine learning, we jumped into the artificial general intelligence. What we are trying to do? We are trying to build up our machine learning algorithm to be scoped in a little broader scope where we call it as machine intelligence. How does it differ from the machine learning now? It refers to a computer that is as smart as human. Your scope is no more restricted to a very specific set of data. Your data set is being broad and your machine is able to understand what is basically it tries to achieve. Now, stage 3, where we are trying to convert the machine intelligence to the machine consciousness, which we call that unsupervised machine learning, basically, right? And that is what we call artificial super intelligence, where a machine can behave much more smarter way than comparing to a human mind. It can read the human emotion, it can read the human intelligence and give you the answer what a human cannot give it, right? You might be aware of, we all as a human being, we possess certain kind of resources and store of the data and knowledge. But everybody in this room, if we can collate all the data and create a superset of that, and a machine can read it out, that is what is called the artificial superintelligence. Make sense? Now, Gartner's predictions in AI evolution, this is just a statistical data I would like to convey to all of you, which talks about how technology is changing the landscape over the next 36 months. So Gartner says that by 2026, generative AI will, after 70% of the design and development for web and mobile apps. And you heard that so many in the keynotes that our Cisco leaders are also conveying the same message. Now, this prediction, how it is going to match with our network test automation landscape, we are going to discuss that today. Before we start about it, pay attention to this diagram. So if you see, artificial intelligence is the super umbrella. Inside that, machine learning, then deep learning, then generative AI. We talk a lot about generative AI, but before leading to the generative AI, first thing first, we need to understand how this is being mapped into, right? Now, if you see, our first target is that artificial intelligence will solve tasks by making computer mimicking human behavior. Someone in the last row, ma'am, said that I would like to analyze my network and predict the result. Exactly that is what it is. But let's deep dive a little bit deeper inside the circle. So there, the machine learning would be trained by the set of data. Whatever you are learning objective, those learning data would be trained and solve a very specific AI action. And with the help of stats, math, algorithms, it will try to predict. That is where it lies as a predictive AI, where we are analyzing certain set of data and generating a predictive AI. Next thing is that after machine learning, let's deep dive a little bit. It comes into the deep learning, where you are basically handling data in a much more intelligent way. Just recall my previous slide where I was talking about ANI, AGI, and ASI. So it maps with the AGI, where you are introducing the concept of the neural networks and building up the prediction mechanism. You are still in the predictive way. But when it comes to the lower bottom level, where we talk about the generative AI, your data set has become much more vast. It's become automatically trained. The system has the enough intelligence that what input it is getting from the user, it is getting automatically fed into your input data set. And the neural network has the algorithm that what a user is asking, right? What the emotion or sensation is going to work out, and the system will reply according to that. So understand the system has the intelligence enough to understand the context and generates the new and unique context, right? Unique content that is nowhere being available so far, and that would be again feedback to the system as a data. So this is where we call the generative AI, where the system doesn't require any kind of supervision. With an unsupervised mechanism, we are building it up. Now, for the understanding purpose, I have just summarized it on the top. So predictive AI uses algorithms to identify patterns in data and make predictions based on the inputs being provided. But generative AI will allow computers to produce a brand new outputs based on the fed input data set or consuming the new set of data. Are we all agree about the difference between predictive AI and generative AI, or any questions in mind? No questions?
I think it's very predicated that you have all your data in order.
Yes, kind of, but not limited to. Though it's still a debatable topic. Yep. So now let us understand how AI is going to change the landscape of our programming structure before we go ahead and say that. So AI is different from programming. We have to understand, because even if you are not a programmer, you can still use this mechanism. In case of programming, we have the input set of data. We have to design the algorithm and generate the output. So a defined set of input, passing through a certain algorithm, generating an output. But with AI, the concept got changed. Okay? So now you might be having different set of data. You do not need to know what is the source of data. It could be the multiple source of data. AI is going to put the label against the data because it is very important for indexing those data. It gets fed into the algorithm. You still have an algorithm which may not be known by an expert. You may not be an expert programmer, so you do not need to know the algorithm so deeply. But those algorithms basically being generated through a model, which we call as a large language model, LLM, right? And when I am feeding the input into the LLM, my LLM is being trained through an algorithm to behave in certain way so that the output will be generated. This is where AI is changing the landscape of programming, like data set is being vast. Input, you can give anything and it can expect the new set of output being generated. Now, if we understand all this theory so far on the AI side, now let's understand how this AI is going to change the evolution of the test automation. I must say that landscape of the test automation. So in the present era, we have already entered the decay of the augmented testing. So augmented testing means what we call as the AI-based testing, where you as a tester, you would like to certify your network, and you know that what set of data you are passing through or may not be knowing as an unsupervised data, but AI will predict that what exactly you are looking for. So if you have a highly complex network, the change rate of the network might be huge, and in that case, the testing time optimization can be possible through AI. And that is why we are talking about, we have come through manual testing, which was the waterfall. Starting from there, today we are in the AI augmented testing stage where we are looking for AI will change our delivery cycle time drastically, but increase the test efficiency. This is what we all are targeting for. Now let's understand how it is going to happen. Richard, over to you.
Yeah, so we're going to go back to our test engineer workflow. And there's lots of steps that we broke out here. This is just an example. This is one example of how we compartmentalized it. Of course, requirements gathering is usually the whole screen because that's the hardest part of any testing is getting the requirements. But what we're going to do as an example is we're going to focus on two areas where GenAI is helping us already. It's really around the test cases and documentation and the analysis and troubleshooting. So we're going to look there. Of course, we want to have GenAI help us across the board, but we wanted to focus on areas that were more low-hanging fruit to start. So back to you, Sudipta, to take us through some of those examples.
Okay. Now we are going to discuss that how the scoping is being done, in how AI is going to impact this whole test automation cycle. So we all know that for any standardized automation process, we have to do the requirement gathering, test case curation, search for existing automation, and then result analysis and report. Now, if you see today our network engineer activities, you can see whatever has been bulleted out. A network engineer would like to test the network. He will first manually search the test repo because I have the test repository. I'll go and search it. I'll find out the test data. Then I will review the requirements, draft a new test case for change, improvement, and enhancement. Then I have to search sources, how to, and best practices, manually search existing test plans in test repository, and everything would be done. So all this process are manual today. Now, what AI is going to do here? AI is going to introduce an intelligent test search. I do not have to manually search it over here. Generate a proactive recommendation for test cases. You might be asking that, okay, I would like to generate a test case. I would like to write a test case for a rollback of iOS XR, right? So AI will say you that, okay, I might be having so many test cases in my repository. So which one would be the best for your thing, or which one will be most utilized one, it will show you over there for authoring. Then AI-assisted test case review. Instead of human, the machine will review your test case and give you the feedback whether it meets with your business requirement or not. Then AI-assisted test case content creation. You do not have to write it manually. AI will write the test case for you, and basically, you are the consumer for it. And finally, the virtual help agent. So I might not be a tester. I do not have any testing background. I do not know how my network behaves. But if my AI system knows what is the expected behavior the network's supposed to do, it should be able to predict all these steps together, right? Now, being said that, if this scope is not limited over here, the scope is much more. We already have implemented automation to have the test case automated. Like in the system, you might be having 1,000 or lakhs of test cases, billions of test cases, which you might be able to put it into a repository. And already your automation framework is doing some kind of result analysis, right? Like what input you have given, what test procedures, and that is a very standard format for the test result analysis and report generation. Now, question is that, is AI can play a role over here, even for generating some new output? Any thought over here? Do you think whatever is automated, yes, sir?
Yeah. It can point you in the right direction. It can grab it. We use RAGs right now by putting a lot of this information into it, and it points us very quickly to that. But you still have to kind of validate that system.
So you mean to say for the, if I introduce AI, that result analysis or validation would be faster? Is that what you mean to say? Okay.
What kind of accuracy are you seeing today?
About 85 to 90.
Huh?
But then that's going to test for it without WCD. Because we use that for like a lot of Cisco documents and 3GPP documents. Back to 3GPP is just, you know, an idea. But then you can pull them all together in one large superset document, and a huge vector database in the RAG, and then it really allows you to link those systems together. But
okay, so you mean to say that whatever documents I have, I can pull it into a, say for example, vector database or something like that, build up a superset, implement the RAG, and I would be able to search. But tell me one thing, how good it could be that your test case is failing in the system, instead of going your all through search, if you have an AI model which can predict that where exactly my test case is failing, and what is the root cause analysis, and how I should fix it up. Right? So here we propose that. So we say that AI-assisted test result summarization. So when I say AI-assisted test result summarization, my customer would be interested to visualize first where my network change is getting impacted, right? I'm changing something in my network and something is failing over there. That should be first my customer's intention. No one might bother about it if everything is going perfect, right? So AI-assisted test result summarization, then result analysis and summarization chart. We will show you how it is happening, and AI assisted a deep level result analysis where I would be able to identify whether my script, whatever I have written as a tester, is right or wrong. Do I need to modify my script? Is my device under test is behaving properly, or it has got some issue because of that my test case is failing? So this kind of role, if an AI model can play, my network test automation is much more safer. So basically, we are trying to build up a trusted network test automation framework through AI, where my definition of the automation is going to be left shifted. I call it as automate the test automation. Okay, so AI is basically going to change the landscape of our entire network test automation process, which we know so far. Now, let's see what are all use cases we have in Bucket. So we discussed a lot of use cases, right? But here we are going to present you that how and why we are targeting these low-hanging fruits. So I have the very first use case, which in my bucket is an AI assistant natural language interface. So few minutes ago, we just discussed that we might be having large set of documents and we would like to read it out. And sometimes what happens when you are handling a customer, you might not know that same kind of problem might have already faced by the other customer also, right? So how we should cater such kind of culture inside the organization that where instead of human dependency, machine will tell me that, yes, you have a problem, I have a solution for it. So let's see how. So if you can follow up this current workflow, which is manual, most of the organization. So you might be a novice tester, you come to the system, you have a test manager, you come to the system, you try to find out the error with you going through UI docs manually, and then ask your teammates, go for a demo, and all those stuff, right? It takes hours, days, and some time. Right? Because you do not know about the system, you have to try to build up the knowledge, you are trying to gain the things, right? What GenAI is going to change? How good it could be that if you're this hours, days, manual effort, converted into minutes through the AI assisted thing, right? So I will be having a virtual agent. The virtual agent, I as a novice tester will go there and I'll ask, hey, I have this kind of problem and how I should do that. I would like to, maybe I'm new to the organization, I would like to install a test automation framework, how I should do that. So basically what I would like to convey is that the business benefit what AI is going to bring over here is that accelerate the time to value in testing, improved user experience, quick adoption, cost savings, and resources can operate more autonomously. We are trying to reduce the human interference at every step over here. Now, let's see how it is possible. So a few minutes ago, we talked about that we have a huge set of documents through RAG and all those stuff, right? So same thing I'm proposing here, and a hypothetical solution over here. This is under implementations. Mostly we are going to make it realized by Q1 of as part of our MVP solution. But let's understand how this architecture actually works, right? So you have multiple sources of document. It could be your internal, it could be your external, or it could be anything. So my point is to bring it into the left side of the diagram is that from multiple sources of document, I am feeding all these documents into a document collector. Then you have an index DB, which will do the document indexing. Let's cut the discussions over there. Now pay attention to the right side of the screen. A network test engineer he has a chatbot application. He will come and ask some question. Hey, I would like to find out a test case, or I would like to do some kind of installation of test automation. So what chatbot will do? Chatbot will initiate the LangChain. Now, when I say LangChain, the LangChain is the mechanism, is the program. If you pay attention, I explained that how AI has changed the programming model, right? So LangChain is the library which I'm consuming, but basic mechanism being consumed is the RAG, Retrieve Augmented Generation. So if you pay attention to the full form of RAG, I'm retrieving the documents in the left side of the block. Now, when I initiate the LangChain, my algorithm or program will start augmenting the data which user has asked and present is in the index database. It will create prompt, create the document retriever, means the data is being processed here, and it will create the endpoint to the large language model. Now, in this whole mechanism, the RAG part, I have done retrieval, I have augmented my ask through the natural language processing unit, and now this is the time, the generation of the output, right? So LangChain will execute through the GenAI endpoint. It will also cache the LLM calls, means if I have multiple users asking the different flavor of same questions, it will store the data from the cache LLM calls and find out which is the more effective data to be displayed or more effective results to be displayed. And that is where the thing will be displayed in your chatbot app. So you are asking a question that how can I go ahead and install so-and-so Docker installation? So you might be having multiple sources for that answer. For example, might be SharePoint, I have the answer, or might be when I have done the Docker installation, I face some issue that is there in the ITSM, but your LLM model will build up, will fetch all the information and find out what is the actual way of getting your information. This is where we call it as that RAG operated by LangChain, where we can get the answer in a very quick way through the virtual assistant. Make sense? Now, just for your information, I have put a dotted line here and say that future flow Langsmith feedback mechanism. Now, when you are getting the answer through chatbot app, you can use the Langsmith to get the user feedback, how accurate is the answer is. And Langsmith, based on that, Langsmith has the option, thumbs up or thumbs down, right? So if you give the thumbs up, based on that, it will prioritized or it will index up your answer in the top of the stack where cache LLM calls will be stored. So if some user is asking, if a question is repetitively being asked, right? So the answer is how accurate it has to be predicted, Langsmith can control that. So your most popular answer will always be played. But that is in the future workflow, the work is going on. Now, let's see how it has been done. So just for the better understanding, I have captured a couple of screenshots from the demo, and the demo is also attached in the slides so that we shouldn't be having much time invested on that, okay? So here, the first screenshot, this has been done internally, so do not go by terms. So CXTM is our internal, Cisco's internal proprietary, a test manager. So I am asking here the system that what is CXTM? And you can see that it has given a very vast reply to me. So if I have only one source of document, then might be it would have been given me a one-liner kind of thing, right? So the change of the pattern of getting the reply has been changed with the AI model implemented. Now I'm asking here how to download CXDM. You might be asking the same question to your colleague, right? He will say, okay, go to that directory and find it out that this is the thing. You might be having a release note, go through that, blah, 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 blah. I do not have to do that. I'm getting the answer here up front. And then I'm asking how to install CXDM. It might be there in the release note. If you can follow the demo, you will be finding out that demo also captures that how to do the troubleshooting in case of installation if it fails and all those things. So here, basically, I have captured the same questions for the demo purpose and tried to convey the message that AI-assisted mechanism is going to be beyond what we do today. You do not have to search release note. You do not have to go into some troubleshooting document separately. Instead of that, you sit in front of your UI and chatbot app, ask the question, it will give you the answer. So you all agree now that we are able to reduce the time over there, right? Next thing is that intelligent test case creation. So I, as a tester, would like to create a test case. I do not have any knowledge about what to create, how to create. So basically, I would be considering writing the test case now. Now let us see how this is going to happen basically. So this is a call flow that I tried to establish the fact that how basically the whole thing will take picture of. So you as a network test engineer asking the questions, it create an embeddings, get relevant documents from database, query the large language model, and it replies. So for example, I would like to say, hi, can you help me to write down this so-and-so test case? It will say, yes, probably. Then again, users say that I would like to be very specific about it. That is the number 2 flow. So there, you can see the introduction of the long-term memory. So every LLM models comes with a long-term memory, LTM, where the response are being stored. The concept of the long-term memory is that it's better than your cache lookup. Cache lookup is always happen instantly, but long-term memory stores all your input for one shot in a full stack. And there, it basically get the answer. So if your answer is not a very direct to the question being asked, then in that case, it might try to read out the long-term memory through the index database and find out the combination of answer which a user is trying to expect. Basically, the understanding-wise, what I would like to build up here, that query the LLM, return the populated test cases for user verification. Let's see quickly how. So here, see, I have already feeded my LLM model with multiple test case documents, right? And then I'm asking, help me to write a test case for rollback on iOS XR. Here you can see that it has found out a test case. It has given you the precondition test steps with the code, which you might be able to copy and execute yourself if you would like to try it out and find out that what is the expected result. So my LLM model is basically able to generate a test case which I would like to write as a human. So it's saving my time. Instead of going through thousands of technical documents and coming out with one test case, I can save the whole time over here. The next use case which I told about summary and result analysis, I think I have already explained about it. I know, Richard, I'm overshooting the time a little bit, but just to give the flavor over here that what basically we are trying to do. So I'll just jump to demo over here. So here is the system screenshot from the results summary page. As you can see, nothing has been displayed before the AI being implemented into our system. Now, when we implemented AI over here, we could see that there are 2 failure test cases have been reported. And pay attention, that test cases have been failed because of what problem has been identified. And those identification, if we can zoom a little bit, it also talks about the root cause analysis. What causes the problem? Now, it also provides you the troubleshooting tips. How you should troubleshoot those failure to be fixed. And specifically, suggestion of fixing the issues are very important. What you should fix in your system. Also pay attention that how it has been analyzed. So I have the reference test logs. My LLM model run on that, and GPT-4 is able to identify that what exactly has been done. This whole end-to-end flow has been captured over here. I think once you get the slide decks over there, you can visualize it, how it's basically going to work out. So for the sake of time, I would be skipping this, and we should be jumping into envisioning the future of GenAI and Cisco. So we say that AI in CX, AI for CX, and AI on CX. So customer experience is tightly coupled with AI at this point of time. We are trying to implement AI in our existing portfolio. Our new things are coming into the market with the AI being implemented. And of course, full breadth of solution of software stack we are trying to implement on using AI. So reference architectures, design guides, everything is being changed with the AI implementation. Cisco connects and protects the AI era. Basically, AI is going to change or going to read out human emotions. So we have a lot to take care of with respect to security of AI, data to drive insights and context, and we have the responsible AI team who are all taking care of all this. So any questions on there, like unanticipated output, security reason, basically customer is free to shoot out the question into askrai@cisco.com. So what? So what are we trying to do at this point of time? This is a lot of data, but I do not want to give a deep dive over here because these are all taken from those sources. What I would like to convey over here that AI is definitely going to dominate the IT services, and with the AI implementation, our months or years of effort are going to be converted into minutes and seconds. And that is where we are talking about so much on artificial intelligence. It's not about only prediction. It's all about how you are implementing that automation to change the landscape of whole network test. We are just beginning of the AI services. So as per the TSIA poll, this is the data has been collected. So top 3 service delivery process, which we are targeting at this point, is that digitizing the customer experience, the whole workflow, whatever you have seen today, the net DevOps to AI Ops, testing and validation is going to be digitized, natural language processing translation, and recommendation system. This is where we are targeting at this point of time. And Richard, if you can just give some highlight on future of GenAI in network test automation.
And I'd like to just add one comment. The test management software that you saw that we use internally is also available commercially through LCS. So if you guys are interested in talking to us, it does include a lot of intellectual capital around test cases that we already have in Cisco for like SD-WAN, ACI. We also have low-code libraries in that capability around robot, but it also supports Python. We also do testing with Ansible, Terraform. If you want to know information, you can come see me, and there's actually a gentleman in the audience, Patrick, if you raise your hand, if you'd like to see more about that test automation software, and we're adding the AI capabilities. When she said Q1, that's for us fall timeframe. So back to the conclusion is, in terms of AI and testing, we want to go across the whole entire life cycle, right? We focus on a couple areas like test case creation, test case documentation, analysis, but we want to envision a life cycle where as you make change in your network, everything becomes assisted, right? Here's a recommendation on what's the best way to upgrade code, what's the best way to upgrade and test and validate the network, what's the way to ensure and de-risk your environment. So really the conclusion is we want to see it as a full suite of capabilities. In terms of testing, it's just over time it'll get better and better and ensuring de-risk for us. What else we get up here? Oh, go ahead.
So question is that for the open audience, is GenAI is a win-win situation? Answer could be yes at this point of time. GenAI automated network test automation, we believe that it ensures smart performance for your network. So if you would like to save your operational expenditure, AI-based network test automation is the solution. We are almost at the end of the session, so an acknowledgement for the people who contributed for our session over here. And we would be glad if you like our session to complete the survey and the evaluations. And thank you for your time today, and hope you have enjoyed our session.